A very warm welcome to all our listeners around the world. You're welcome to the Tony Tukumbo Fernandez Show, the show that promotes the true life and success stories of African and Caribbean achievers around the world. So, if there's a product or initiative you wish to share, feel free to give us a call on 0788 280 9005. That number, once again, is 0788 280 9005. It's all about promoting the true life and success stories of Africans and Caribbeans around the world. And we've been having such an amazing year so far with so many amazing guests. We also had a beautiful, successful Black History Month last month in collaboration with the International Center for Cohesion and Integration. Check out the video on our YouTube channel, subscribe, and we have another amazing guest this week on the show today, all the way in Gothenburg, Sweden, Black African American role model doing amazing work around the world, who is also an author of a children's book, which apparently won an award this year, 2021. So it's amazing to meet for the first time Sandra Brown Instance. Welcome to the Tony Tukumbo Fernandez Show. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. A little bit cold, but other than that, I'm great.
I tell you,
Yes.
it's freezing here in the UK as well.
Is it
Uh,
snowing?
it's snowing. The snowing was so bad today. But the great thing is that we're alive, making a difference to people's lives.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
I must say, coming across your profile was very overwhelming for me
Oh,
with all the great work you're doing at the moment. And I'm sure our listeners around the world are dying to know a bit about yourself, your background, and the things in life you're most passionate about.
well, actually, I grew up in Chicago, Illinois, on the South Side, very ghetto, as you might say.
Right.
A lot of pimps and prostitutes. I mean, everything was going on where I grew up. And
Right.
so my surroundings was very bleak. I have five siblings. I have four sisters and a brother. And my mom had to raise us. So it was pretty dire and desperate situations going on. But I had a grandmother who lived in Texas. And so we were able somehow to afford to come and visit with her every summer, every other summer. And so that was sort of my saving grace because that's where I learned my different ethics. She took me to church, which we did never do in Chicago, you know. So it was a different place. It was quiet, serene, chickens, farm. So it was really different than the hustle and bustle of Chicago. But yeah, so that's sort of my life. And I grew up and later we moved to Portland, Oregon. I got married. I have three children, and then my husband passed away, and I'm here in Sweden with my new husband, who's Swedish.
Fantastic. Um, Having that kind of challenging background, what would you say are the greatest lessons you learned growing up with that kind of background? And how did it change you as a person?
Well, I think the greatest lessons were actually taught by my grandmother to me, and she taught me to rely not only on myself but on God and on faith. And with the faith of God, I was able to get through a lot of the challenges that I faced every day in school. Having only like one dress to wear for a whole year semester, things like that. So I faced a lot of challenges, and without faith in God, and He was my saving grace, and that's why I call my book "Life of a Firefly," because that little light of faith is all you need, is that spark, and that keeps you going. And so that permeated my entire life. Actually, I learned to trust not only in myself but trust in God. When I couldn't see the way, that little light showed me the way. And that light was the faith in God and his provision for me. And so that's what sustained me, actually.
Amazing. And we're going to come to the book in a little while because I'm sure our listeners are very keen to know more about this amazing book. But what was life like moving to Sweden? I visited Sweden many years ago, Malmo, and yeah, it was a melting pot of cultures. Many Black Americans I met there. But what was it about Sweden that really made an impact in your
Well,
life as well?
I had never heard the language of Swedish before I came here, and it was pretty. I guess it was like going into Disneyland or something. If you've never been there before, it was like the Wizard of Oz. You know, you go over the rainbow, and here you are. And so it was quite, before I got married, I just go back. Before I got married to my husband, we met online after my husband died in America. And so my kids threw me online on this Christian dating site. And so anyway, he was from Sweden, and I said, okay, I'll never meet this guy. He's in Sweden, I'm in America. So my kids will leave me alone, so I'll talk to him. And so I talked to him, and of course, here I am. But I said I wouldn't move here unless he found a church that was near where he lived. And sure enough, he found an international church called Smyrna. And with that church, I became integrated into Sweden with
Wow.
all the different cultures and from everywhere, because they all went to the English-speaking church. And that's where I got my grounding there. And I put on plays there and things like that. And I got to know people, and they sort of took me around. And it was so amazing that everyone here speaks English, which was like amazing. I was trying to learn Swedish, but every time I try to speak Swedish, they'll go into English because they can hear my accent, right? So yeah, but I find that it is a beautiful place here. It's really welcoming and very, very nice. It's like a best kept secret of Europe, maybe.
Fantastic. Wow.
Yes, Gothenburg. Mm.
Gothenburg. Now,
Yes.
Life of a Firefly. It won the International Book Award this year, 2021. And our listeners are keen to know a bit more about the book. I love the title. It's got some very rich metaphors.
I will hold it up so everybody can see it.
Wow.
And this
Beautiful
is, and
colors too.
actually, I won 9 awards for this book so far.
Wow.
9 different awards. And I had the grand prize for Best Fiction of 2021, which was very surprising. And I was like very overwhelmed by that. And I won 7 gold. It won 7 gold awards and 1 silver. And so for the best, a gold award for the best debut memoir of 2021. And so this book is about me growing up from 3 to 12 years old.
Wow.
And it sort of tells what I was talking to you about faith, my journey, and how faith took me from one tenement to the other, from one school to another, because my mother used to move around a lot. She would get bored, or we couldn't pay the rent, one or the other, from an apartment. So we lived in, we moved like every 6 months, sometimes every month. I remember one time only going to a school for 1 day, and then we moved. So with all of that journeying around, it's not a sad book. It's a happy book, actually. And that's where I wrote it, for children, because this is for middle school kids, and from 12 to 18. And it's for them to know that they're not alone. Sometimes you feel very alone in your journey, like nobody knows how you feel. Nobody can help you. You feel sort of like, especially during this COVID time of what we're in now, this kind of pandemic. And last year when all the kids were at home and they couldn't go to school and all these things, so they were isolated. And this is to let them know that they're not isolated. They do have a friend, they can call on Jesus. And so in this book, people who are secular, they love this book. And you usually don't find that. Usually if you talk about Jesus in a book or whatever, they go, oh, this is a Christian book. No, we ain't gonna have that. Well, no, this is a real book. This is a true book. This is about relationship. It's not about religion. So it doesn't have any religious connotations to it, but it does have the relationship of God in it.
How were you able to persuade the audience to win into your world?
I think it's through humor. You can say the harshest things, but if you say it in a way that's funny, people tend to gravitate toward it. They tend to identify, because I think that's what it is, identification. And I went back into my little girl world and I began to think like I was thinking as a child, because in order to talk to children, you can't condescend to them. You can't talk from this high level. You have to be where they are and be able to give them that experience. So that's what I do in this book. It's funny. Of course, it's sad in some places, but for the most part, it's real. And people know when you're real, when you're trying to make up something, because I'm not the good girl in this book, so I do a lot of bad things, to survive or whatever, but all in all, it's a journey. And I think people like to be taken on a journey somewhere. So,
I mean, congratulations. We're so proud of all these achievements. But from your own stance, why would you say this book is so important to children? I mean, it's won so many awards, but speaking from the horse's mouth, why would you say it's so important to children?
I think actually, literally, this book should be in every school. And it should be taught. I actually have a syllabus to go with it. I did a study guide to go along with this book, because it's some of the lessons on friendship, on family, on making your way through when there seems to be no way, is something that all children should know, even the ones who aren't going through anything, who may have the seemingly prosperous life. They need to see that window of what other kids are experiencing. There's a bully in this book called Gorilla Girl. And we call her Gorilla Girl because, she was a gorilla girl, and we were all little and she was, like this. But this girl became my friend. And so this journey of friendship with, and experiencing bullying in school and all these sorts of things, kids can identify with it. And they should be able to write, I think, even essays on some of the chapters in this book, because it's not only going to just be a fun read, but it's going to be something that's lasting. And that's what I'm hoping, that this would be a teaching lesson also for them.
Don't you find it fascinating that some of the greatest lessons we learn in life are lessons which are not taught, but are lessons which we experience?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to, many things people can tell you, like, your parents tell you don't do this because, this is going to happen. Yeah, right, whatever, sure. You don't know, so, but one of the stories in there, I'm just thinking right now, but one of the stories in there is about when she goes on a joyride with her friend who's 12, who stole her brother's car. See, all these things happen. People think, did you make this up? No. It's about 98% true in this book, And so she goes on this joyride with her friend, and then it gets dark, and her friend has found out that there's no lights on the car. and they're in the darkest place that you can imagine, trying to get back to their home, have to get on freeways and all this kind of stuff. 12, I look back and say, was I okay at that time? But, so these kind of journeys and these kinds of things is something that you have to sort of experience, but I wouldn't want everybody to experience all the things that I did, but they can vicariously do it through my book. So, yeah.
And, for all our listeners who are going to be listening in today, they can listen, and, the more they listen, the more you tease them into your walls. But most importantly, how can our listeners get hold of this book?
Right now, it is on Amazon, and I think it's on Goodreads. I did have a publicist who was putting it on a different places, Barnes and Noble, for instance, places in America. But in Europe, they can definitely go to Amazon UK. And I also have 2 other books. Just this one I wrote for little children.
Wow.
3 years old, and it's called My Super Sweet Week.
My Super Sweet Week.
Yes, and then it's a coloring book. I thought why not go and make a coloring book, just for the heck of it. So these 2 are also on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, if they want the book, it's also on ebook, and I'm going to make an audio book pretty soon. Like, how about next couple of weeks from now? Actually, in January, I should have it done, an audio book. So
that's Life of the Firefly, winner of the International Book 2021. Grab your copy on Amazon. But most importantly, Sandra, people would want to connect with you to know more about your world and your journey, but also your social media handles. So if people want to connect with you, are they able to connect with you as well?
Absolutely. I have, I'm on Instagram under Sandy Lynn, and I'm also on Facebook author page. They put Sandra Linstead author. It will come up, and then I always answer my mail, and they can always, and then I just made a website called Sandy Lynn Books. So they can also leave messages and comments on that website. So
beautiful. Yeah. And can people reach you by email?
Absolutely. My email is there. I just got a new one just for my books and for my fans. A lot of people have been writing me. It's called, and they get the updates. Because I'm going to do part 2. I'm writing it actually in the midst of part 2 for this book from the ages 12 to 16. So when they write me, my fans get the first copies, and I usually try to get them a signed copy. So that's incentive for you to go to sandylynnbooks.com.
Fantastic.
And so go
and
there.
We're proud of you, and we encourage you to keep up the great work in your journey to be the change we want to see in society. On a very final note, what message do you have for all our listeners around the world today?
Keep the faith. Keep faith. No matter what dark journey, darkness that you see, the light is faith. Always know that there's someone bigger than you out there, and that's Jesus. And that's my message. My message is always him. So keep the faith, and you cannot fail with that, because he is why I'm here today. He's the reason for the season, and the reason why I'm here is because of that.
And we're also here to celebrate more of your success stories to come. Keep up the amazing job, and God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I had a great time.